Hello, I am Jenny, a trainer from DTP. As a trainer for many years, I have helped teachers improve their teaching practices. And I will be happy to share some strategies to you, especially the language games that you can use to motivate and engage your students in your class. So, why let your students play games in class? As we go on with the teacher training, your students will become more motivated, pay close attention, and actively participate in your class because of the language games I will share with you. In this language games teacher training video, I will share with you effective tips in choosing games that strongly connect with your students' language learning. Then, I will help you connect these language games that you choose to your students' learning styles. After you become aware of the students' learning styles and help your students practice the target language, I will guide you set your students up for success, which you need to carefully manage the games you bring in class. And lastly, I will discuss the amazing benefits of using games to help your students learn and practice the target language effectively. When we talk about our students' language learning, it is so obvious that children are motivated to learn anything when they play games. They are very interested to participate in the game, and this is a great opportunity for you teachers. So take advantage of this chance to engage your students learn about the vocabulary words and the sentence structure. Use different exciting games to review the target language many times in a meaningful way. But before you use different language games in your class, you should make sure your games have a purpose for learning language and not just having fun. So, as a teacher for many years, I will share these simple but effective teaching tips to you. So, 1, always make sure that the game you will use targets the language that students learn in your class. 2, that the game you choose checks their understanding of the vocabulary words. And 3, it practices the correct sentence structure in the book. Because if you ensure that your students say the target language many times and they really get the meaning of the vocabulary words and use those words in sentence repetitively, you teachers will be recognized as a very passionate teacher because you help your students learn language skills effectively. When it comes to your students' language learning, I Learn Smart Start carefully constructed a 10-unit lesson structure with ideal topics that best your students' age. And the main objective of these engaging language games is to help your students practice the vocabulary and sentence structure in a fun and enjoyable way. But not only that, you're also improving their 4 language skills and helping your students build the 21st century skills as early as now. Take a look at this unit structure. You will always find the language games at the end of the lesson. After learning the vocabulary, structure, and controlled practice, there will be production games to engage your students and further practice using the target language. This teacher training video focuses on language games. The examples I will show you will help you save a lot of time planning of what fun and engaging language games to use in your class. So, here are the different language games you can use from the I Learn Smart Start book. These games are active, interactive, and learner-centered, and I am sure you can get the attention of your students and create a cooperative learning environment for them. You now have the perfect way to motivate and encourage them to enjoy playing these exciting games while strengthening their vocabulary and grammar more. In learning the language, we can't ignore the fact that students have different learning styles. And we know that most children are very energetic and love to move around your classroom. but some are shy that they need your support and motivation. So as a teacher, you have to consider their different learning styles. And as a matter of fact, students normally have the VAC learning style. VAC means visual, students see to learn. Auditory, students listen to learn. And kinesthetic, students move and do to learn. And that's why you must carefully choose appropriate language games that you will use, so that they will have a better learning experience in your class. I Learn Smart Start book understands your students' different learning style. And that's why this book provides games that will attract your students' attention and participation, which fit their different learning styles. And with your teaching expertise, your game delivery, plus the reward system, and of course these fun language games, your students will definitely have engaging ways to practice listening, speaking, and even master their pronunciation. Now let's connect your students' learning style with the language games. Simon Says is a classic and a fun game that children love to play. This game is great for auditory learners because this game improves your students' listening skills. And of course, a chance to practice and check their comprehension on vocabulary and structure they learn in your class. So how to play this? It's simple. One person becomes Simon, and whatever Simon says, players must do it. However, the players must only follow commands with Simon Says. So if Simon says, touch your nose, the players must touch their nose. Why not add a mystery in your fun game? Guess the object has the excitement that your students need, which is great for kinesthetic learners. As you instruct your students to cover their eyes or maybe look away, give them an object to guess. And then your students will start using and moving their hands to feel the object and guess what it is. I'm sure your students will enjoy guessing the object. And this can boost their confidence while letting them reinforce the target language they learned in class. For this last language game that I'm going to share with you, the famous board race will make your students really enjoy your class because of this fun, active, and flexible game that practices the target language learned in class. And this is great for visual and auditory learners. But like I said earlier, this game is flexible that you can make your own rules to make this more interesting for your students. So simply put the flashcards on the board and let two students get ready to touch the word that you will say. Then, the student who touches the word first and says the vocabulary right gets a point. And you can give another point if it was used in a structure correctly. I will let you look closely at these other language games. Don't worry, teachers. You can see the complete instructions in your teacher's book. We have pretend game. We have find the color. We have chain game. Guess the picture. So, among the language games I shared with you, which one is your favorite? Now, after choosing the appropriate game for your students to practice the target language, your objective now is how to manage the games you want to use in your class so that your students will successfully reinforce that target language and practice the language successfully. So, for number one, the most important that you should do is to be sure that the instructions are very clear. Ask and check your students because giving clear instructions will assure a maximum fun and practice of the language. On the other hand, those instructions for games are usually easier to demonstrate than to explain. So after explaining the instructions, always model how to play the game correctly. Let's say Simon says. This way, those students having a hard time understanding the instructions can easily get what you mean by looking at your actions. And finally, set a specific amount of time. A well-planned game achieves the objectives in class. So plan the amount of time that you will use and stick to that plan. But just a small tip, okay? Yes, your students may be really enjoying the game, but just let some of your students play with it, okay? Or play in that game. Because you want your students to keep asking for more, right? All right, so let me show you how to manage a game successfully. Let's play board race, okay? So this is a perfect game for your students who have 3 different learning styles. So students can see, listen, and move or do to learn. And then incorporate the vocabulary words and structures that they have learned in your class. So, just what I said earlier. Number 1, explain the instructions clearly. Say a vocabulary word, and your student has to listen and touch the correct picture. A student gets 1 point for that, and another point if that student uses the target language properly. Next is demonstrate how students should play it. So you can use your hand gestures this time, okay? So let's say me, teacher, bird. Okay, so you point to a student, so you student moving fast towards the board, and then touch. You touch the board and say, I like bird. Okay, so don't forget to give them points. All right? Then after several practice and the actual game, I'm sure your students will get it right. But of course, don't forget to limit your time, okay? You can always choose the game, or especially this game, if students really love playing this. Okay, so here are a few more suggested language games. You can use sticky balls, okay? This game is target me. Just use the sticky balls instead of a board race. Just let them stand there and then throw the sticky ball at the picture. Second is ready tap. Instead of putting the flashcards on the board, just place the flashcards on a table and let 2 students play, okay? By raising their hands. And when you say the word, let them tap the picture. And who touches the picture first gets a point. And last one, if your students don't like moving around the classroom, just let them play phone race, okay? Just pass the message. It can be a vocabulary or the whole sentence. Games are a great classroom management tool because it surely helps motivate the students in class. And these games that I Learn Smart Start book has will keep your students active, social, and even entertained in the classroom. Since you have these exciting and engaging language games, make the most out of these games. So one of the game benefits of using these language games is that you can make your students easily engaged in your class, and they can actively participate in the game. 2, for them, they're just having fun playing the game, but they don't know that they're already practicing the important vocabulary words and the structures that they just learned in your class. And for you teachers, grab this chance because these language games can help you check your students' progress. And lastly, since they're having fun, they will definitely remember the fun, silly, and interesting moments they practice in the language games. And take note, a positive emotion surely leads to learning, and it stays in their memory longer. These language games that you will use in your class will surely have a great impact to your students' learning. So get creative and incorporate these language games to make your classroom a lively and motivating experience for all. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.